Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Let's Play of Rimworld Alpha 17. As some of you may know, I'm a teacher, a lecturer at university, and what we're going to do here today, or in this series, is I'm going to try to make this a little bit interesting in that I'm going to use this opportunity to play the game Rimworld, have a little fun, and talk about the game while I play, but also talk about something that's very close to what I do as a lecturer, and that's course design, curriculum design, teaching, planning, developing teaching, developing the idea of teaching and learning in a structured way in the 21st century. Talking about 21st century skills, digitalization, and things like that. Now, why do I want to do that while playing a game? Well, for one, it's going to be fun. I don't know if it's going to be fun for you. It's going to be fun for me, and I think that's the best reason to do anything at all. But the reason I'm using a game, and a colony simulator game, is because in a colony simulator game, what you do is you are basically in control of a colony, a situation, a space. You are given a space that you manage, and within this space, the colonists, they're autonomous units that you set up parameters for them to do it, but they choose to do the work. Sometimes you can command them to do specific skills, but mostly you don't want to do that. Mostly what you want to do is you set up perimeters and you set up different schemes, you set up guidelines and such, and the colonists, we can call them pawns if you want, then follow these perimeters. They carry out their tasks in accordance to the structures you've set up. Now, if you're a teacher, or even if you're a student, or even if you're a person who has been either one of these things, and chances are, if you understand me right now, you probably have been either a teacher or a student at some point in your life. You might already start seeing the connection here. We're talking about a space in which there are coordinated efforts put in, but the people who are operating within the space are autonomous agents, and if you haven't by now made the connections between the sort of digitalized blended learning classroom and colony management, then I'm going to spell it out for you. There is a connection, there's a parallel between the colony management games and a sort of digitalized classroom and teaching environment. Now, so this is not to say that they are the same thing. There's a parallel. There is overlap, and because of that overlap, I felt like this is a nice introduction and a nice opportunity for both me to do something I really enjoy, which is play Rimworld, which is a fantastic colony management game by Tyne and Sylvester, an independent game developer, and also a chance for me to explore and record thoughts I have about development. It's something we're supposed to do all the time, and a lot of times as a teacher you're busy when you're actually teaching, you're developing, and you're sort of putting it into practice at the same time. Recording and disseminating information is a tricky thing to do. So I am trying in this video series to try to kill two birds with one stone, and try to record some thoughts, some ideas, and about development, about digitalization, about the overlap between things like colony management and classrooms, and thoughts about learning development, with a bit of fun, with a bit of stuff I'd like to do in my free time, and at the same time also practice content creation, which is another big thing going on right now. But first, before we do anything about the game, before we even start the game, this is just going to be an introductory video, and I want to start, before we go into the game itself, before we start off the game itself, I want to bring up the issue of mods. So as with a lot of games these days, especially independently produced games, there is just an enormous amount of modified user-created material that you can do to customize your gaming experience. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is, for one, to show which mods I am going to be using and installing and blah blah blah, but also to bring up the idea of mods and speculate and think a little bit about what kind of implications that might shed on the learning environment at university. Mods are user created. So that's an important thing. So if we put that in the university world, that would mean that mods would be student created. So they would be created by a third party. It would be or a third party. So mods would be things that students can opt to choose to add to the class thing. A student created modification of the course. I'm just going to let that reverberate for a little bit. What could that mean? But let's just see first what kind of things is being modded in this game. So this is a colony management game. You guys, if you haven't seen any of this before, you don't know about Rimworld, which chances are you don't. You might not think too much. But for example, here, this mod basically changes the power consumption of a light bulb. That sounds weird. This one basically just visualizes the mood of all the students in the class. Hand me that brick is a mod that basically allows the construction of structures in the game to function a slightly bit different way. The allow tool changes the user interface. RTFuse and some other thing adds more items, more things to do, more things to build into the game. So consider these kinds of things. Consider these kinds of potential focus areas for that could be open for modification in a course. User interface. What is that? What is your user interface in your course? Well, let's take for a very, very common, simple, familiar example of Moodle. What way could there be mods, student-made mods to your Moodle area? Is that a thing? We had things that added extra structures, that added extra things. Could there be a possibility of students creating task materials? Are they going to be doing that? What about things that change how the game is played? The things that changes the rules a bit? Is there an opportunity for there to be student-created modifications within the course that slightly changes how the course is? These are just things I'm wanted to bring up and put out there. But like I said, I wanted to just briefly mention that and think about the fact that a lot of games these days, they allow you to shape and change and modify your game experience so that it's more like the kind of game you want to do. A game that makes allows you to experience it in a way that that fits your desires better. This is not to say that everyone can get to shape the course they want, but I want to mention two things about them. The fact is that they are modular. They don't just modify. They're also modular. They shift and change a certain part of the course or the game. That means that the game is designed so that there are sort of interchangeable parts. Parts can be tweaked independently. You don't have such a static course that everything depends on everything else, so that if one thing is changed, the whole course is ruined. Instead, the game is designed to encourage and allow modification to take place. This is something that courses could take into consider as well. The other thing is that they are all opt-in, so you can turn off a mod, click, or turn it on. It is the user who determines whether or not a particular mod is going to be used. Again, how is this? Could this be implemented in a course situation? Well, there could be if a part of a course, some students, a group in a course have altered some materials, it would be opt-in. So that would not mean that everyone would have to use the altered materials, but there would be an opportunity to use the altered materials if they wish to. So this is what I wanted to bring up here with mods. But now, oh shoot, okay, the mod list has changed. The game will now restart automatically. Well, poop. It detected that I changed around something with mods, and even though I turned it back on again, it still felt like the game didn't start. But the good news is, this won't take long. It'll just take a little while, and if I manage not to crash the game, we'll be fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, look, here we are. It's fine. We're all fine. We're good. We're not going to be good for a long time, for a while soon, because now we're going to jump into the game. So, I was going to set up a specific thing, but we can. The scenario here is that 3 colonies crash land on a desert planet. Now, we can. I could have customized the text of the scenario a bit to say something like 3 students signed up for a course in extreme communication, but it's fine. We'll go with the standard narration here of 3 people, we don't know why exactly, have crashed on a planet far, far away, out in the middle of nowhere, and they'll have to survive. In a way, you can very much like this the communication course, because what they need to do here is they need to adapt to the situation and develop and apply strategies that allow them to continue to exist. In a way, you can see it's a very much sort of like a course. It would be similar to a course that requires students to pass projects or thresholds or be eliminated. We don't really have cutthroat courses like that, but it's you can imagine a situation in which there would be something like this. Like you'd have to keep maintaining a particular performance. You need to make sure that the group performs a certain way, or you are eliminated. So what we're going to do next is we're going to have the seed, which says basically some words that determine how the planet is generated. And why don't we just call this something like pedagogy, because that's what it's about, isn't it? And we'll just generate that. It'll take a while for the world to generate, and now basically it's building an entire planet. It doesn't matter too much. We're mostly going to just sit in one spot of the planet, but what the point of this is that various different parts of the planet, and as you see, I only generated 30% of it because most of the time we'll not have anything to do with most of the planet. But this is the planet. This is the planet of pedagogy, and let's pick a random site and see where we end up in. We have a temperate forest. It's 30 days growth period, which is relevant because we're going to have to grow our own food. We have some nice neighbors here. Let's take a look at the factions around. The Confederacy of Reen, the Blue Ridge Pack, the Babip of the Crab, the Babip of the Crag. Okay, that's fine. Alliance of Bebiwala and the Face Beaters of Murder. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. I've always had a appreciation for the Face Beaters of Murder. Okay, let's take a look. So what we have here, we have small hills, dirt path, blah 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 blah. The roads are well. I mean, I won't go too much into the mechanics of the game right now, but basically, where you start your colony basically determines what kind of terrain you'll have around. And this matters in different ways, but let's just see. I love the name of the neighbors that we had there so much. And I think we're just gonna put us smack dab in here. We have a 30-day growth period, and that's enough time to have our crops to mature and everything like that. But we have a bit of season, so we'll see a seasonal change and all this kind of stuff. So that's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and we're gonna get to play with the Face Beaters of Murder. And I mean, you know, with neighbors like that, who needs other neighbors? I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, next up, what we're going to have here, and here's where we're getting to an interesting bit. So if anyone, yeah, basically what I'm going to, you can rename these characters. So these are going to be our starting colonies, and we're going to have a look at them in a bit. We're going to choose a few, and I'm going to randomize them until I get a good starting mix. But anyone who dares to like to like this video or to like any other places where I post it, I'm gonna enter your name into a pool, and your first name might enter into the game. Now, of course, any likenesses between the character, the pawn in the game, and the character and the person in real life is purely coincidental, and I do not claim that there is any link or meaning between the name and the character. But just so you know, I will be choosing names out of people who like the different places where I post this and put them in the game. Now, if someone is absolutely hell-bent and really wants to be in the game, then put a comment somewhere, and I will prioritize people who expressively say, I want to be in the game, I want to be in the game, I want to be there and do stuff, and this is so cool. Then of course I'll prioritize that. But let's take a look at what kind of people we have first. Here's basically a graphical representation of the person, some general bio information. Everyone has a backstory, things they are incapable of, for some traits, and these are their skills. Now, for our starting people, I'm going to randomize them until we get people who are not terrible. So this one, this guy, Thomas, starts up as Thomas, nicknamed Thomas, and this is good old Thomas Backer. He was a scout. So what? Let's take a look first. He's incapable of intellectual and artistic. Those are not critical skills. He's let's see. He was a child who was a scout. Let's only read those in case we actually end up picking him. So he's got bloodlust. So he kind of likes hurting people. That can't sound bad, but it's actually pretty good in this game. You know, it's a wild world after all. One of our neighbors is the face beaters of murder. So you know things. He's nervous, constantly nervous about everything that has to get done. He will work extremely hard, that's good, but his nerves can easily get the better of him. That's bad. And he's industrious, so he's a very good fighter. He knows how to patch people up and he can craft. It's pretty rubbish otherwise, but you know that's not bad. We need someone who just can sort of beat people in the face. And if you want to be Thomas, let me know in the comments. And then we have Shiro. Shiro is incapable of so many things, I'm not even going to look at that anymore. So, let's take a look. Oh! We have a teacher here. Raymond was educated in the liberal arts and taught at a public school. He was widely knowledgeable and well liked by his students. Oh, well liked. That's no one I know. Well, okay, now I will. This is cool. So, he's incapable of firefighting, jealous, degrading to have a less impressive bedroom. Of course, we're going to get the best bedroom for the teacher. That goes without saying. And again, bloodlust. I'm seeing a theme come up here. Now, he's good at intellectuals. He can do some researching. He's good at medicine, but I really would have liked. But how can I not have a teacher in this pedagogy-based thing? You know what? I'm gonna bite the bullet and. Let's put ourselves in there. It's Wilhelm. Here we go. Alright. Hair's a bit off. Obviously, you can't see the socks, but if you would be able to see the socks, you would see that the socks are of different color, because that's important, damn it. So anyway, childhood. Wilhelm was born during a catastrophic war in which both sides used napalm extensively. He grew up helping his parents in an infirmary, treating the cascade of horrific burns from the battlefields. He was left with a lifelong fear of fire, and that's why Wilhelm is incapable of firefighting. Now, the bad thing is that, I mean, these stats are rubbish, but, you know, it's a teacher, right? I mean, it's about what they can... yeah, I'm not going to say anything more about it. You make your own sort of deductions based on that. Anyway, let's take a look at Thomas's. Since we're going to keep Thomas and we're going to rename Thomas into something else. Thomas was a scout, born into colonial administrators from a small imperial power. Thomas was enrolled in a youth program that taught military scouting skills. He learned to survive in the wilderness, to obey and not to ask questions. What a perfect student. Military commissar. Thomas was an internal spy master in an Imperial Army battalion. He made sure that the men were loyal and did not fall back unless ordered. This made him unpopular, but he gained great skill at detecting the slightest dishonesty. What a good... We have a snitch. So we have a teacher and a snitch. This person would start off with asthma, alcohol addictions, and by the way, the fact that there's such a thing as alcohol addiction kind of tells you a little bit of what kind of game this is going to be, so be careful about liking things, because you might end up being a alcoholic, drug addicted, cannibalistic, I don't even want to go on because it gets worse than that. But anyway, this person is unable to do so many things. We're just going to click the wrong button and click randomize. So, what about here? Can't do cooking, can't do plant work, night owl, greedy, masochist. Do we have someone who can do cooking already? So cooking 1, cooking 0. Oh, can't do growing. What about here? Growing 1, growing 1. We actually need someone who would be able to do some of those things. But this is someone... Oh no. Can I turn down a ninja assassin? Oh no. We have performed stiletto-precise assassinations for an interplanetary conglomerate. She was assigned to the most complex missions involving disguise, deception, subterfuge, and efficient violence. A nasty incident with a potted plant and an assassination gone wrong left her with an aversion to plant life. She grew up pampered. Born in a decadent glitter world, Mia was given every expensive toy. This pampered lifestyle caused her to miss many basic life lessons. She developed a special aversion to cooking and always ordered the staff to do the kitchen work. Alright. Oh no, I mean, we're gonna have such bad skills, but I just can't say no to a pampered ninja assassin. I just can't. Uh, oh no, this person is yeah. This is gonna get weird. This person would be the fiance of Wilhelm. Okay, a pampered ninja assassin. That sounds like. I mean, let's just. Should we put? Well, that's. What was it? Well, like I said, I'm gonna assign some person's name from the comments to there. I'm gonna regret this so much. I'm going to regret this so much. Oh well, who cares? So let's see where this goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start the game right now. I'm going to upload this video, and actually going to see if someone does the terrible mistake of already liking it before I start recording the next episode, because then we're going to change the other two names. We're going to change Thomas and Mia into someone else. And this is it. This is us getting started. Now, I got into the game like I haven't talked about any pedagogical things in a while here. And, you know, I'm going to, full disclosure, I'm not promising that every episode will have pedagogical insights or course developmental insights. I just have this as a venue where I have the opportunity to muse over those things. But as a final pedagogical thought before we sign off is have a look at these pawns now. So we have actually now we ended up having a one of the pawns being a teacher overall, but really the pawns function kind of in our simile, in our metaphor where we have this game as a metaphor of a course. The pawns are students. And the thing to consider here again, where there's an overlap, is that these pawns, these students, are unique, they are heterogeneous, they have different skills in different areas, right? And so again, this reflects the reality in the classroom, where in the learning space, where different people will have very different skills. In fact, we do and we will have people in our classrooms who are incapable or virtually incapable or extremely less capable in certain areas, yet we have to somehow keep doing it. So this game also has that in the content management. You have to play around with that. You have to play to people's strengths and avoid people's weaknesses. And again, you don't if you're a teacher, you realize this is what it's about a lot of times, to modify and change around the course, or have the course be able to adapt the course area, be able to facilitate and adapt to a heterogeneous learner group. And so that's where I want to finish off. Just before we get started, we're going to start off the game. We're going to have our people crash in their life pods down onto a planet, have a first look at the planet, at the area that we're going to call our home. The three of you awake in your cryptosleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown Rimworld. Congratulations, you are now enrolled in Extreme Communication 101. To pass the class, you must survive. Okay. Let's have a look. So this is the mod that gives us a handy overlook of people's moods. Everyone seems to be kind of fine, you know. Sure, you crash landed on a desert planet and you barely survived the crash, but hey, it's fine. We're about to wrap up. I'm just gonna do a quick overview of the situation. We have here, these are mountains. This is a two-dimensional game, so we operate only on this level. You can't build structures of several levels. You cannot dig down into the earth. You build and you sort of create a base and you create a living in this area. And I'm already starting to see potential things. We want to the next thing what we're going to do when we start the game is we are going to select a spot where we feel like there is the safest place. So this is not a friendly world. There will be hostile raids, there will be things happening. So what we want to choose is we want to choose a location. For example, this could be a very good place to start, because this would allow us to have a mountain to some sides, and we'll be able to build in here and develop this area and have it a bit more easily defensible. Another option could be here, although it's a bit close to the edge of the map. We'd have two sides. The other thing to consider is the fact that we are going to have to grow our own food. The slightly darker areas of the map have rich soil where the food, where our plants will grow a bit faster, giving us a reason to consider that as a potential place to settle. Now, given that, if we think that then both things of both of those issues are things we want to consider, you would say, well, this has fertile ground here and a sort of defensive structure here and here. That would sort of say that why don't we just sort of somehow build an enclave here. Another thing to look at is the existence of ore. It says compacted steel, and you might be like, wait a minute now, steel is an alloy, that's not an ore. And you'd absolutely right. This is compacted steel is not a naturally found ore, but the idea is that this planet has ancient civilizations around here. So basically what this compacted steel is here is that remnants of an ancient culture has left a bunch of compacted steel that's handily there for us to use for. And same thing here, compacted machinery. So this is not naturally occurring ore, it's actually, you know, ancient artifacts that we're going to use to build stuff out of. Another thing that we can look at here is a steam geyser that will provide heat, and later in the game we can use it to provide power. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into details right now, but we'll probably settle somewhere around here. But this is it for today. This is the introduction to my Rimworld Let's Play with a pedagogical twist. I hope it has piqued your interest. If not, too bad. But I'm going to keep on making this series anyway, because let me tell you, this game is fun, and it becomes more fun when you narrate it, even if you narrate it just to yourself. And that's just how it is. So, if I see you, I mean if I meet you again, so to speak, in the next episode, I would be delighted. If you think you can handle having a risk of being one of these characters, or one of the future pawns that we end up having in the game, pop a comment or pop a like to any of the places I post this, and you might just be someone. So, with those words, welcome to Rimworld, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!